Uh, hello, beautiful creatures of the internet. Uh, I'm Mango Jones. So tonight we're doing a special edition of Murdaugh Murder Theater because Murdaugh's lawyers, Dick Poop and Jim Griffin, have filed a new motion to get a new trial done. And we're gonna look at everything because it is important to be able to understand what is going on. It's important to break it down into layman's terms so that everyone can understand it. You know? So that's what we're here to do tonight. Also, hi Yami. Hi Sydney. Hello everyone else that may pop in. Um, the Small Human Med Fund is still open. Reason being that next month we're still going to have to pay the $355 for his nightly med. So, like, if y'all want to donate towards that, you can. If not, I understand. Like, life happens. So, let's take a look at this. So, we have the letter. And this letter is from over to the judge. And said letter pretty much explains that after the trial, after he was convicted, after Murdaugh got convicted of murder and everything, it was revealed that there may have been misconduct done by Rebecca Hill, the clerk of court for Colleton County. There are certain jurors that came forward, they gave sworn affidavits, and they were like, hey, she tried to sway us. So, based off of South Carolina state law and federal law, what she did was illegal. And will get involved and investigate. And they did cite everything in it. I will post a link to this here in a little while, so that way everyone can read it themselves. Uh, Dick Poot did request that federal law investigate whether Rebecca Hill or any other state actor violated anything by tampering with the jury. And even if no federal charges are ultimately brought, an investigation by FBI agents is needed to discover the truth and vindicate Murdaugh. Now, look, I will say that based off of the evidence that was presented in court when it comes to Murdaugh is guilty. However, comma space, if based off of what I have seen from what we're about to go over, if Rebecca Hill really did tamper with anyone or anything, that's fucked up. Also, can we just take a moment to talk about the sign off on this letter? Like, I don't know who did it, but like, with warm regards, I am sincerely Richard A. Harputhin. With warm regards, I am sincerely. That's just bad grammar. Come on now. Come on now, Dick Poot. You're better than that. Y'all see that? It's right there. Warm regards, I am sincerely Dick Poot. Anyway, like, I don't know. That's a small gripe I have. Yeah. So, with warm regards, he is Dick Poot. He is sincerely Dick Poot. Uh, so, the motion in question. As soon as it loads, it's 65 pages, y'all. It is 65 pages of shit. Uh, So it was received 2 days ago. Hey, Spherical Man, John Coyote, Barrow, anyone that's lurking. It's lovely to see y'all. But yes, this is a 65-page motion. So, they did request a new trial. And, oh, Yami, it's Exhibit A through Exhibit L. Yeah. Exhibit A through Exhibit L. So, we're going to get into that. It's a motion to suspend appeal and for leave to file motion for new trial, which means that they have enough evidence in their opinion that they can file for a new trial based off of what has been brought to and honestly, they're not wrong. From what I have seen in this, they are not wrong. They do have grounds. So, exhibit is the copy for motion for new trial and exhibits A through L. It's the only numbered exhibit there is. Everything else is letters. So, defendant Richard Alexander Murdaugh, through undersigned counsel, which is Dick Poot and Jim Griffin, pursuant to Rule 29B of the South Carolina Rules of Criminal Procedure, hereby moves the court for a new trial after discovering that the clerk of court tampered with the jury by advising them not to believe Murdaugh's testimony and other evidence presented by the defense, pressuring them to reach a quick guilty verdict, and even misrepresenting critical and material information to the trial judge in her campaign to remove a juror she believed to be favorable to the defense. So, Rebecca Hill, the clerk of court, is alleged to have confronted the jury and made it to where they brought back a very fast guilty verdict. She told jurors to not be, quote, fooled by, end quote, Mr. Murdaugh's testimony in his own defense. She had frequent private conversations with the jury foreperson, a court-appointed substitution for the foreperson the jury elected for itself at the request of Ms. Hill. During the trial, she asked jurors for their opinions about Mr. Murdaugh's guilt or innocence. She invented a story about a Facebook post to remove a juror. She fucks shit up. And that's the thing. Let's move down to the actual exhibits, because everything here is quoting the exhibits that I'm about to show you. So, oh my god, again, it's 65 pages of this. I have read through all of it. It is and a lot of it is just quoting various case studies, case law, and explaining why this is not okay. So, Dick Poot and Jim Griffin did their homework on this. So Exhibit A is affidavit of juror number 630. They were juror number 630 in the case of Murdaugh, or the state versus Murdaugh, that was tried in Colleton County. Toward the end of the trial, after the President's Day break, but Mr. Murdaugh testified. The clerk of court, Rebecca Hill, told the jury to, quote, not be fooled by the evidence presented by Murdaugh's attorney, which I understood to mean that Mr. Murdaugh would lie when he testified. She also instructed the jury to watch him closely immediately before he testified including look at his actions and look at his movements, which I understood to mean that he was guilty. Immediately after he testified, the foreperson, juror number 826, said Mr. Murdaugh was crying on cue. Now, I watched his testimony on my channel, Murdaugh Murder Theater. He didn't actually cry. He never cried. I do firmly believe that Murdaugh is guilty, however, comma space. Miss Hill shouldn't have been saying these things to people. Just saying. The foreperson, juror number 826, criticized the former foreperson, juror number 589, for handing Mr. Murdaugh a box of tissues when he was crying on the stand while about his murdered son. She told the jury, "We cannot interact with Mr. Murdaugh because, quote, that is what the defense wants us to do." Yes, Vero, I agree. He fake cried. Like, you can go back and watch. Like, it was televised. Like, he fake cried. But I digress. The jury frequently discussed the case during breaks before deliberations. Towards the end of the trial, Miss Hill came into the jury room a lot. Miss Hill and the foreperson had private conversations on multiple occasions. The foreperson would tell the bailiff that she needed to speak with Miss Hill. Like, all of these things in this affidavit point towards Miss Hill misusing her position of power, right? When we began deliberations, Miss Hill told us, quote, "This shouldn't take us long, and that if we deliberated past 11 p.m., we would be taken directly to a hotel," which is true. If jury deliberations take too long, then they do send everyone to like go stay the night somewhere because they have to be sequestered. It's just a requirement. It is what it is. It'll be what it'll be. We had driven from our homes that morning and we were not prepared to stay overnight. Additionally, smokers on the jury asked to be allowed to take smoke breaks, but were told they should not smoke until deliberations were complete. I had questions about pressured by the other jurors. Now, I have a tiny bit of bias here just because the timing of the video with the timing of when they were killed, but the timing of when he left the house or allegedly arrived back at the house just doesn't line up, but I digress. After the verdict and immediately before sentencing, Miss Hill pressured the jury to speak as a group to reporters from the television show. Yeah. So this is a signed affidavit. And this is not the only juror that signed an affidavit. Yes, Miss Hill is the one that wrote a book about the trial. Juror number 741 also signed an affidavit. And the affidavit represents exactly what the last affidavit said. Several times during the trial, Miss Hill told the jurors that the media would want to interview jurors at the end of the trial. And during one of these conversations, she passed out business cards from the media to the jurors. Right before the defense put up their case, she told them, "Y'all are going to hear things that will throw you off. Don't let this distract or mislead you." After he testified, 8 jurors indicated they did not believe his testimony. I didn't believe his testimony. No. She actually did not get in trouble for writing the book because the trial was over. It was done. He was sentenced. She could do whatever she wanted. But it's the fact that acting as an agent and jurors and misleading facts. Yeah, after the jury is like after the trial is done and over, you can pretty much do whatever you want, essentially, which is why there were jurors that did TV interviews and stuff, but the whole thing. Uh, During the visit to Moselle, juror number 826 and a person walked to the scene together. Then, juror number 826, the foreperson, began walking with the clerk of court, Becky Hill. There were times that the jurors were not kept together, but were in two separate rooms. Someone noticed that jurors talking about the case before deliberations began. 85 joined in the conversation. As the jury was deliberating, she believes Judge Newman came into the room she was in and told her the jury would have to spend the night in a hotel if they didn't have a vote by a certain time. But, like, that's common. Like, that statement right there, that's very common. If you're in a deliberation, you can't come to a conclusion, you're going to be put in a hotel, as I said before. You have to be sequestered. Required. Also, I hate that they said that it was the affidavit of H. Miller and they just have her name uncensored right there. Yeah. Bad look. Y'all should really work on that. Oh. So during the trial itself, there was a juror. We call her Egg Lady. Y'all may remember when I covered the trial, she had a thing of a dozen eggs, just like in the jury room, and she needed to get them. Like she had to have them. Said juror was expelled because of an alleged that Miss Hill says that she saw. And right here in the transcript, yes, I think it was Friday evening, just for a brief moment, I perused Facebook, got on Walterboro word of mouth, and saw where someone had said that, well, it was the ex-husband of a juror, and he said that he noticed that his ex-wife was saying that she was on the jury and saying stuff about how her verdict was going to be, and that he was the ex-husband, but she was known for talking way too much. Oh my God. Mo, I'm going to fight you. And we're not sure, Yami. We don't know if they were uncooked eggs or if they were hard boiled eggs. We just know she had a dozen eggs in the juror room. She was the egg lady. But I digress. And then I just kept on scrolling because that was enough for me. I've gotten enough. And the court, which the court is Judge Newman, said, and how did you determine who he was talking about? And Miss Hill said, when I heard there was an email on Monday, I figured the two went together if it was true. Now, the juror in question confirmed that her ex-husband, she has multiple restraining orders out against. Like, she doesn't talk to him. She has had no communication with him. So how would he know? How would he do anything? Why would that be a thing? So Becky Hill claims that they looked on Monday and couldn't find it. But then they found his name and found the post and printed it out where he said that he had put something up, but that he had deleted it at the time. That he had put out stuff that wasn't nice. Well, that's the thing, though. There's an affidavit stating that he didn't do it. He didn't put out a post. In fact, They had gotten his Facebook login. They had gotten all of his information from January through March, and there was no such post ever made by him. The Facebook account wasn't even under the right name. Facebook account was under Timothy Stone, but he goes by Tim Stone. And he did an affidavit himself. Did anyone else catch that Cobes is now making mango mead? Coincidence? It is a coincidence. Cobes don't give a shit about me. I'm just here, existing. Any hoozle. So this is the cover of her book, Behind the Doors of Justice, The Murdaugh Murders. Isn't it lame? Like, no offense to Becky Hill, but that shit's lame. Now, in her excerpt that they have right here, she talked about how during the trial itself, reporters from these national news organizations were there. They were asking for information, they were asking for interviews, they were doing this, that, and the other, which actually aligns with what the jurors were saying about her handing out cards for these people. They had the Wall Street Journal there. WIS TV is a local network, but because he was getting recruited to Washington, D.C., and then NBC, like, he wanted an interview. Like, there's a whole bunch of people. The Today Show, Dateline. Like, everyone wanted interviews. And what did she do immediately after? Do all these interviews. Like, it doesn't make sense. She talks about how she worked with the jurors, the alternates, the originals, while most of the jurors were focused and engaged during the Murdaugh trial. We did have one juror who was an alternate at one point who was not. She was more focused on the crowd, who was watching, who was or wasn't following Judge Newman's rules. Well, you weren't following them clearly, since this motion was filed. Since all of this came to light, like, you weren't following the rules. She even mentions the eggs. One of the jurors raised chickens on the farm and had brought in a dozen eggs to whoever wanted them. At the time, eggs were selling for about $8 a dozen, which was very high, so it's understandable why the removed juror wanted her eggs. Ma'am. Just absolute ridiculousness. Why even put that in a book? I don't understand. She talked about the Facebook post. But hi, Fit. You'll be in and out, but listening and screaming into the void. Yes, that is fair. That's very fair. Yeah. While the jurors viewed the Moselle property, we all could hear and see that Alex's story was impossible. Here's the thing, though. You didn't have to go see the Moselle property to know that his story was impossible. You just had to look at the evidence that was presented by the work of the FBI and SLED. Like, they had a full timeline. They had all of the cell phone records, and it was implausible and impossible. Like, you didn't have to write about it. God gives us all gifts, and the gift of discernment is shared by many. Some of us, either from the courthouse law enforcement or jury at Moselle, had an epiphany. Miss Ma'am. No. At that moment, many of us standing there knew. I knew and they knew that Alex was guilty. You didn't have to see the Moselle property to know he was guilty. You didn't. Like, seeing the Moselle property was just the icing on the cake because of all of the timestamps and records that were presented before. Like, there is no reasonable way that uh, Alex's wife's phone ended up where it did without him having taken it and throwing it there because of where it was positioned. There's no reasonable way that he could have been at the kennels with both of them moments before they died, gone back to the house, and not seen or heard anyone approach the property and kill them. Like, it's a whole thing. The cover up was messy. It was very messy. In fact, my mango theory is that everyone in that law office actually was involved in some way, shape, or form, considering it was a good old boys club and they all just so happened to come to the house. Alex also just so happened to call his brother, be on the phone with his brother, and then text him 911. You need to get over here immediately. It's an emergency. Oh my God, she's dead. Like, no, you just talked to him. Proof is in the pudding, and the pudding fucking sucks. Anyway, once we were back inside our vehicles, heavy hearted and contemplative, our procession headed back along Highway 63 toward the town center of Walterboro. The wind had died down mysteriously, and the sun began to shine through the clouds. Oh, I said everyone at the law office because everyone at the law office was lawyers. Like, no joke. It was all just a bunch of lawyers. It was Alex's great great grandfather's namesake, and his great great grandfather actually died by jumping in front of a train and, like, unaliving himself. But I digress. One of the roles of the clerk of court is to be Switzerland between the jury, the lawyers, the public, and any other entities involved. If you were Switzerland, why did you write a fucking book? If you were Switzerland, why did so many jurors, why did a former juror's husband, ex-husband that she hasn't spoken to, come forth and fill out affidavits talking against you? You're not Switzerland in this. Like, you're not Switzerland. Yeah, Barrow. I actually did a little bit on the history of the Murdaugh law firm, and yeah, uh, Murdaugh the first, the one that started everything. He had a successful law firm that did private stuff while also working for the state as a prosecutor, and he one night, like, jumped in front of a train. He jumped in front of a train. He waved at the train driver and was like, "Ha, kill me!" Like, it was the whole thing. And, like, the train driver very clearly said that he saw the dude wave at him. Yeah, it was bad. But I digress. In the moments riding back in our vehicle, and with the jurors and decision makers in other vehicles, we were just regular people, and our thoughts spilled out, just as the jury would do in a span of 3 hours. We, we unanimously came to our own verdict in just 3 minutes. Guilty. What? If the jury deliberated for 3 hours, then how did y'all unanimously come to your own verdict in just 3 minutes? That makes no sense. In my opinion, The decision to visit Moselle by Murdaugh's defense team did not work in their favor. It it wasn't brought forth by Murdaugh's team, actually. The state made the request. Murdaugh's defense team agreed to it, but the state made that request. It's all on video. Quote, they were hoping to show that the proximity was too close for one shooter, and they felt like the pictures didn't show the distance correctly, said Doug Brown, who worked for the defense team during the trial. Well, actually, it's quite logical. So, Murdaugh was driving the golf cart, right? And by the way that he was sitting and the angle that he was holding the gun, it was the proper distance to be able to get his child the way that he did. Yeah. Many of us question if Alex is bipolar, schizophrenic, or a narcissist, while some wonder if he snapped due to financial pressure, Paul's boating accident, and the crumbling of the family dynasty. Right is right and wrong is wrong. When and where did this family begin to blur this fact of life? The moral compass that rules most law-abiding citizens didn't seem to exist in Alex. I don't really want to believe that a father could murder his son and wife. Sometimes, though, the line of love gets blurred and turned into a crime of passion and a crime of desperation. I believe most people cannot fathom killing or hurting a family member, especially in the name of love. But during our time at Moselle, Alex's fate was sealed. No. Alex's fate was sealed by Alex. It does suck. It's a terrible book. Horrible book. Alex's fate was sealed by himself. Alex did this to himself. Alex did everything in his power to be a terrible person. That's just a fact. That's why he was charged with drug trafficking. That's why he was charged with insurance fraud, because he had his buddy shoot him. He actually didn't shoot him. At least not according to the paperwork at the hospital, which I went over. And I still have. Like, he's just a liar. He's a sack of shit. You don't have to do all of this to prove that he is a sack of shit. Now, Exhibit E was the Timothy Stone Facebook post. The post that the clerk of claimed that she saw. February 16th. Folks, I posted a ugly post yesterday, to which I have deleted, and I kinda, in a roundabout way, directed it towards a certain person, and I would like to apologize to everyone who read it that ugly for me to do that. Yes, I let Satan control me, and I broke down and started drinking, and when I was drunk, I made that post, and I'm sorry. That was a mouthful. Very badly done. But here's the thing. All of these replies, all of these everything that's right there, there's an affidavit of Tim Stone. So that's what he goes by. He doesn't go by Timothy. He's never gone by Timothy. He's Tim. He is the ex-husband of the juror, Egg Lady. I did not post anything to the Facebook group Walterboro Word of Mouth between January 23rd, 2023 and March 2nd, 2023. I did not post anything on this social media page or my own Facebook social media page about Egg Lady being a juror that blank was talking way too much to friends and family about the case, or that Satan had gotten a hold of me and I had been drinking at the time I had posted and was now very sorry. Nor did I post what was attached as the exhibit, which has been represented to me to be an alleged post to the Walterboro Word of Mouth Facebook group. I do not have a Facebook page set up as Timothy Stone. My profile name is Tim Stone. And he provided his Facebook link. I was never contacted by law enforcement, the South Carolina Attorney General's office, the Clerk of Court Becky Hill, or anyone at the Colleton County Clerk of Court's office about the exhibit or a post on the Walterboro Word of Mouth Facebook page concerning my ex-wife, Egg Lady. I did not know Egg Lady was on the Murdaugh jury until I heard her voice on a recording when she was being excused as a juror and she was discussing something about eggs. Yes, Satan is always making people do stuff and things. Also, if Satan is in your heart, you should totally give to the Small Human Med Fund. Because next month it's going to cost $355 for his meds. Anyhoozle. We have another affidavit. Mind you, we're on page 44 of a 65-page filing. And it does not look good for Becky Hill. It does not look good at all. Now, Philip Barber is a member of Dick Poot's law team. And this is his affidavit saying that Tim Stone appeared in front of him and gave his testimony. He provided his Facebook login information and allowed him to download a copy of all of his Facebook activity from January to March. There's a true copy of the download, which we do not have access to, but the court does. The contents of the download speak for themselves, but review of them shows no post was made on February 16th, 2023, apologizing for a previous post. There are no posts whatsoever to the Facebook group Walterboro Word of Mouth. Facebook's stated retention policy for deleted posts is 30 days. So any post deleted between January and March would not be recoverable. However, space. That does not mean that he made those posts. And look, here's another affidavit, Juror 785. During the presentation of the defense case after President's Day, but before Mr. Murdaugh testified, Rebecca Hill told the jurors to not be fooled by the evidence presented to the jury by Murdaugh's attorneys. In late February 2023, Rebecca Hill questioned me about a Facebook post on the Walterboro Word of Mouth page. She summoned me to speak with her alone in an office in the courthouse. She told me someone emailed her about a post my ex-husband, Tim Stone, purportedly made, which purportedly stated I made comments to him about the guilt or innocence of Mr. Murdaugh. As we know, there is no post. There is none. She made it up. Because the court asked her to find it and present it, and she could not. It does not exist. In fact, I asked to see the post, but Miss Hill would not or could not show it to me. I have never seen it, and to my knowledge, no one has. This is Egg Lady. This is Egg Lady's thing. She directly asked whether I was inclined to vote guilty or not guilty. I told her I had not made up my mind and that I wanted to hear all the evidence before deciding. Miss Hill said the post said I had been drinking with my ex-husband, and that while drunk with him I expressed opinions on the guilt or innocence of Mr. Murdaugh. That never happened, and I told Miss Hill it never happened. I did not go drinking with my ex-husband. In fact, I had not seen him in approximately 10 years. She has 3 restraining orders on the dude. 3 active restraining orders. Why would she go drinking with him? It did not happen, does not happen, will not happen. It's not a thing. Later that day, Becky Hill told me Sled and Colleton County Sheriff's Office went to my ex-husband's house and he purportedly confirmed he made the post. But as we know by the affidavit that he signed, that never happened. That was not a thing. I did not know about the apology post referencing Satan until Mrs. Hill's book was published. I have since reviewed that post and can definitely state the post is not by my ex-husband. He does not go by Timothy. The profile picture is not him, and the phrasing of the post is not phrasing he would use. It appears to be a post by another person who happens to have the same name. It does not appear to be a post to the Walterboro Word of Mouth Facebook page. Crazy how that works, isn't it? When Miss Hill first asked me about the Facebook post purportedly made by my ex-husband, I showed her a picture of my ex-husband. For that reason, I now believe she always knew the apology post referencing Satan was not posted by my ex-husband. On March 2nd, 2023, the day of the verdict, I received a call from him, Tim Stone, as I was getting on the bus to travel with the rest of the jurors to the courthouse. I did not answer. This phone call upset me greatly, and I asked to speak with the clerk of court, which I did by telephone using bailiff Mr. Bill's phone. I told her I was scared. She said that the Murdaughs probably got to him. Miss Hill then again asked me questions about my opinion regarding Mr. Murdaugh's guilt. She asked if I was leaning one way or the other. I told her that Creighton Waters' closing was good, but I still had questions. She asked me what kind of questions, and I replied questions about the guns. She asked what would make me think he is innocent. I stated that no murder weapon was found, which is true. No murder weapon was found. She then asked, well, what makes you think he is guilty? I said Paul's video at the dog kennels, which is like the smoking gun in this case. She then stated that everything Mr. Murdaugh has said has been lies, and that I should forget about the guns. They will never be seen again. How do you know, Miss Becky? How do you know the guns will never be seen again? They might be found. Lizard brought up a point to me the other day when we were on the phone. He was like, someone could go magnet fishing, discover them in the fucking lake somewhere in Colleton County, which is true. It could happen. You never know. Like, all of this is not good. The fact that so many jurors have come forward and said something, and the fact that a juror's ex-husband had to make an affidavit on stuff. Becky Hill has made it to where there is grounds for a mistrial. There are currently grounds for them to redo the whole fucking thing. All because a clerk of court couldn't keep her fucking mouth shut. I believe she wanted fame. Not even gonna lie. Like, I think that she used this as an opportunity to capitalize. Yeah. Like, by the way, right here, I was removed from the jury on the day of the verdict because a co-worker of Miss Webb purportedly said I expressed an opinion on Mr. Murdaugh's guilt or innocence while delivering the refrigerator, which she delivered a refrigerator to Deborah Webb and Clifford Dandridge on the 18th of February. Miss Webb then worked at Domino's Pizza in Walterboro, so the co-worker would be some employee of Domino's Pizza in Walterboro. I do not know whether Miss Webb actually made any such statement or whether a co-worker actually heard any such statement. After I was dismissed from the jury, I spoke with Miss Webb and Mr. Dandridge, who both vehemently stated to me and my husband that the affidavits the prosecution drafted for their signature was not what they said to him. They told me Sled showed up at their home at 10 p.m. after they were asleep, removed them from their home, put them in separate cars, and questioned them. Mr. Dandridge said he told them I did not say anything about Mr. Murdaugh's guilt or innocence. Sled returned 30 minutes later, again woke them up from their beds to serve subpoenas on them to appear in court the next day. They arrived at the courthouse at 9 a.m. and were held for 9 hours until 6 p.m. when Sled officers or a prosecutor finally presented typed affidavits to them saying they were their statements from the previous night that had been recorded by dash cams in the patrol cars. They said they signed the affidavits without reading them. As I previously testified, I never discussed the merits of the Murdaugh case with Miss Webb, Mr. Dandridge, or any other person present, nor did I express an opinion on Mr. Murdaugh's guilt or innocence while delivering the refrigerator or during any other interaction with them during the trial. I am inclined to believe Egg Lady. I really am. Aw. Thanks, Wilson. I do my best. I appreciate it. Anything that comes to me on Cash App or my Streamlabs, it's going to go directly into a Small Humans Med Fund for next month because that monthly medication is still $355. Do have it for this month, which is fantastic. And we have his emergency diazepam. So I don't need to worry about that $450 cost, but $155 next month I do. Which is great. Now, Red Exhibit I, which is the draft transcript of records from an in-camera conference on February 28th. Now, within this, because I've already read through it, so this is Egg Lady. Egg Lady is talking to the court, which is Judge Newman. Have you put anything on Facebook? She said, not regarding the case. I put a positive post on, I gave Miss Becky full access to my Facebook. I've put positive posts on, I've done that for the past 3 years. Judge Newman asked, has anything posted on Facebook about you? And she said, I wasn't aware of it until Miss Becky told me today. And they asked, well, what did she say? She asked me if I had an ex-husband. I said, yeah. And she asked if I had talked to him about the case or being on jury duty. And I said, no. And I questioned her why she was asking me that. I haven't seen my ex-husband since 2014. Like, she also goes on to say that she has 3 restraining orders. And jurors said that she was very upset after Miss Hill told her about the post. And she was like I said, I have 3 restraining orders against him. It wouldn't have anything to do with him if I didn't have a child with him, but I haven't seen him since 2014. I have talked with him in the last year because I got a call at work that my son was in jail and I needed a ride home. And I did call his father and ask him to go get him, which he did not do. But other than that, I have not seen him, talk to him, or anything else since 2014. Other than getting restraining orders in Colleton County, Orangeburg County, and Berkeley County. But Miss Becky said she went to look for the post again and that it had been deleted. And I don't know who she talked to or anything else, but like it it's very suspicious. It's very it's not something that reads like what a clerk of court would do. You know? At least not a good one, not a respectful one, not someone that would follow the rules of law, essentially. She was asked if she had discussed anything with anyone on the jury, if the clerk had discussed anything with anyone on jury. She said not that she was aware of. And the juror said, she pulled me aside when we went downstairs after the last break. I want to say it was after lunch, and we came back. That's when she first told me about it. And then when we went back into court, I was kind of screening the audience to make sure that my ex wasn't out there. And then she came downstairs after that break and told me that she had found out that he was drunk and made a drunk post. And I don't know what happened from there. I have no clue. Now, after she was dismissed, the judge asked if anyone had any questions, and the judge was even concerned that the clerk of court pulled her aside and talked to her without addressing the judge or addressing anyone else. Why was this not brought up at the time? Why wasn't this a thing? Why did no one discuss it? Oh boy, I'm not too pleased about the clerk interrogating a juror as opposed to coming to me and bringing it to me. This should have been addressed during the trial. Not even gonna lie. You set yourself up for this by not discussing it further at the time that it happened. Y'all set yourselves up for this appeal, for this request. Look, another juror number 326, came forward with an affidavit and said the same things. Hey, Tony. Juror number 326 was asked if Miss Hill told the jurors not to let the defense mislead them. He did not specifically recall this statement, but he did recall that Miss Hill commented to him and other jurors about the photos that would be admitted into evidence, indicating that the images would be disturbing. Also stated that the jurors were stationed in two separate rooms when they were not in the courtroom, and that he was in a room with mostly male jurors. He stated that Miss Hill would visit the other room often, and he could not hear what she was telling the jurors. During the trial, he and others discussed the case prior to deliberations. He did not discuss the case with anyone outside the jurors, but you're still not supposed to do that. He further commented that some of the jurors were going into their office because of financial reasons and that people were talking to coworkers because coworkers wanted info. Before deliberations began, he indicated that minor conversation led him to know who was a yes and who was a no. His vote changed with new evidence. As the jury was deliberating, the bailiff and Miss Hill told the jurors they could not take a smoke break, and there were 6 jurors that were smokers. After, a group chat was formed with the jurors, but he dropped off the group chat because there were too many chats. When asked if he thought that Becky Hill was inserting herself in the process of the trial, he responded, "I can see this." Exhibit K is a memorandum from Rebecca Hill, dated May 9th. I'm looking forward to your upcoming docuseries on the Murdaugh case, and I hope you'll be able to use some of my interviews, should you choose to. Because I am an elected official, will need to modify 3 clauses in the location agreement you presented me as it relates to my authority. Please change the word owner to Colleton County in every reference in the agreement. 3 dates and location fees. Low Country Story LLC agrees to pay the Colleton County Treasury a fee of $1,000 per day for use of the Colleton County Courthouse facilities, as long as it does not supersede any court proceedings. Payment will be made by the close of production. So she was doing interviews in the Colleton County Courthouse facilities for a fee. Don't do that. Do not do that. And then under number 10, miscellaneous. Colleton County, South Carolina can only enter into a legal agreement for services if it is to be governed here in South Carolina, not New York. As an elected official, I have no authority outside of the state of South Carolina. You have no authority outside of the county of Colleton. Let's be real. Like, if you were to show up in some other place, you would have zero authority in South Carolina. It's just Colleton County. And even then, your authority is so limited, it fucking hurts. You're terrible. You're garbage, people. Rebecca. You're garbage. And she talks about using bits of her book and her voice. And then right here is the proof of service. I certify that on September 5th, I served Murdaugh's motion to suspend appeal and for leave to file motion for new trial. From Dick Poot. Yeah. This is the whole 65-page thing. I can provide anyone a copy if they want it. It's ridiculous. Rebecca Hill should not have done what she did. She royally fucked shit up. She laid the groundwork and opened the door for them to request a new trial with new jurors. With all of this information that's out there, we don't know what will happen at the next one. Yes, the evidence says Murdaugh is guilty, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that other people will find him guilty. You know what I'm saying? And if she did sway the jury, if more jurors come forward, because she laid the groundwork for other jurors to come forward and make affidavits of their own, Murdaugh could walk free if they're not careful. And it's all Becky Hill's fault. The whole thing is her fault. So yeah, I just wanted to go over that with y'all because this shit's ridiculous. It's hate is a strong word, Barrow, but I get it. Because I hate her too. Like, Becky Hill may have fucked up everything. Let's be real. Okay, while I have y'all here, is there anything else y'all want me to cover, talk about, do anything with? Because I wanted to go over this quickly, let y'all know that any funds that go towards me will go towards next month's Small Human Med Fund. Because yay, I like having him alive. I don't know, he's cool. Yeah, she effed up real bad. Yeah. She wanted fame. She wanted all sorts of fame. Oh, you're welcome, Alibis. Oh, what's your question? What can I help with? And of course, Beryl. Like, being able to go over it in a way that, like, everyone can understand is one of my favorite things. Well, they'll have no choice. So, uh, every county has multiple clerks of court. It just so happened that Becky Hill was Walterboro's clerk of court because Colleton County has 3 courthouses, and she was the one for Walterboro. So, if it goes back to trial, then they're going to pull someone from Somerville or somewhere else within the Low Country. Becky Hill will not be involved. Becky Hill is going to be investigated. Becky Hill may have federal charges brought against her. The whole thing. Back when I was a jury foreman for 6 years, I've taken a clerk of court who screwed up a case like this out behind a billboard. Yeah, yeah. Different times, Mud. Different times. Way different times. Mm. Oh, Mud. Who in that pan? It's like, you did a really fucking great job repairing that shit. Just saying. Unfortunately, Yami, I think it's going to go to trial. I don't think they're going to have a choice in this case. Judge Newman fucked up by not bringing forth what he was told and not investigating it further. So, oh, Cynthia won it? Cynthia's so sweet. I'm glad she won it. I see her in your chat all the time. She's just the sweetest. Yes, I lurk your chat all the time, but joined your open stream, but like it was just, you know, old dudes talking about shit, and well, I'm not an old dude. Mm. Oh, here, you know what? I'm bored, so do 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 do. Oh my god, I'm not an ageist. If anyone wants to come hang out, there you go. No, Alex will not cry. He never cries. He chews on his tongue a lot, like a lot, a lot. Like he really digs into that shit. Kind of weird. I don't know if it's an old dude thing or a him thing. Couldn't tell you. But yeah, the Murdaugh motion. This is going to end badly, in my opinion. It sets a very bad legal precedent. Precedent? Yeah. No. Okay. So you can always request a retrial. You can always file the motions to request a retrial. Retrials happen all the time. And with the evidence that was put forth by the jurors' affidavits, by what Becky Hill put in her book, by Tim Stone, by everyone, they have grounds for a retrial. You can be on trial for the same thing again, hoping for a different outcome. Look, I'll pick on you all I want, Mudballs. Of course you already took your teeth out. How dare you? Old man. Actually, one of the things that people don't seem to understand too is what a presidential pardon means. Because if you remember, Trump pardoned the dude that was selling bits of brick to build the wall, but that dude was able to be charged on a state level. Because a presidential pardon only pardons you from federal charges, it does not pardon you from state charges. So, if they have enough evidence, if they have everything to put forth to a grand jury to indict you, you can still be charged. Yeah, that dude, Steve Bannon. If you get a retrial, the first verdict is set aside. You are no longer convicted, so you can be found guilty again. Yes. And then, unfortunately, so I'm sure a lot of y'all know about Chris Chan, right? And what Chris Chan was alleged to have done. So, as I'm sure you guys know, Chris Chan's charges were dropped. And it's actually a very complicated case of not having the physical evidence. So, the charges that Chris Chan was brought forth on, they have a minimum sentence of 1.5 years and then a fine. Chris Chan was in jail for almost 2 full years. The state kept pushing everything back because they were still in discovery, and it got to the point that Chris Chan had to be released from jail because he served they served the minimum sentence. So had they had enough evidence, had they gone to trial, Chris Chan could have been given a lengthier sentence and had to go back to jail. But that's not what happened. They did not have the physical evidence. So the charges were dropped. Time was served. There's nothing that anyone can do about that. And while it is great that systems like that are put in place so people that are falsely accused of things don't suffer needless consequences, people like Chris Chan fall through the cracks. People that admit to their crimes fall through the cracks. And it's just the unfortunate reality. Now, I do not know if Chris Chan's mom is alone at the house because we know that Chris Chan has returned to their mother's house. But we have to keep in mind, Chris Chan was her primary caregiver before the arrest happened. So I personally, just for my own sake of mind, like to believe that the state has assigned someone to be a caregiver and come by every day and make sure she's okay. And that's like literally the only way I'll be able to sleep at night thinking about it. Just a tiny bit of peace. We don't know. We know that Chris Chan's car was seen outside of the home recently. It was posted to the farms. Also, like weirdly, shout out to the farms for having all the information on everything. Like, Don't fuck with the farms. They'll find like your fourth cousin 3 times removed and be like, "Hey, about this bitch." Like, no. We don't know if Christian's mom is still in the house, but I like to believe that if she is, that the state assigned someone to help. And it is just a very unfortunate situation. Tell you about it? Yeah. Yeah. Fucking sucks, doesn't it? Oh, also, uh, if anyone goes to cover cows and you go to cover any like legal stuff that the cows are in, do your fucking due diligence. Absolutely do your fucking due diligence because there is someone, not going to name names, but they've been going after negs and they've been pulling up information on like the wrong person with the same name. They're laying the groundwork to get sued. Like real bad. Real bad. Because why would baby mama number 1 be going after negs for child support and then turn around and have baby number 2 during that? Just saying. The timeline does not add up. It's not the right person. You have the wrong person. Do your due diligence. Jesus. Or keep doing it. Because you look fucking stupid. Just saying. And then Yami, you're welcome. But I absolutely appreciate everyone that was here for this. I just need to go over that quickly because, like, no, no, they're not. Because they were recently posting on Twitter, like, oh, can someone figure out the interest on this? It's not the right person. Still the wrong person. Not him. There's so many things you can go after Negs for because he's garbage, but, like, that's not it. That's wrong. At least go after him for the right reasons and the right information. Just saying. All right. So if no one's gonna pop in, then I'm about to go to bed. Gotta get up early. Me and Small Human are still in the process of our move. We got shit to do in the morning. Uh, if anyone wants to help with the Small Human Med Fund for next month, y'all know where the links are. Do the thing. I appreciate all of you. I love you all. And I'll catch y'all in the next one. Might be tomorrow. I don't know. Depends. I'm having a time. Can you tell? All right. Love you guys.